obviously today we're here to talk about your story and
what story it is.
what a story it is. But yeah, let's, I guess, start from the beginning and like just tell a bit about yourself and yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Talk to me,
So
bro.
where do I start? So my name is Samson, obviously. I live in Mill Hill from North London. I am turning 21 in 2 weeks.
Oh, we don't need to go. It's not first date.
I know, I'm 6'2", I'm tons of fun. No, so unfortunately when I was 16, just before my GCSEs, I lost my dad to cardiac arrest all of a sudden. Little backstory of how that happened, how we found out. I was starring in the school production at the time of Into the Woods.
I love how you have to put in starring.
Trained hard 6 months, lots of hard work. I was the big bad wolf. I was really excited. And it was a Thursday evening. The show was the following week in December. And it was a Thursday evening and he was meant to pick me up from rehearsals and take me out for dinner. Unfortunately, he never turned up. And it resulted in conversations back and forth with I call her my stepmom, but unfortunately they never got married. But I have a lot of respect for her and love her a lot. It just resulted in her she was away on business, so she sent in the police to go find him, and unfortunately it wasn't good. But so this was December 1st, 2016. So I'm 16 years old, about to do my GCSEs. Not the best of times. Well, there's never a good time.
No, of course.
But yeah.
I think it's like one of the things that, you know, I kind of had to deal with was the fact that it happened over a long period of time. Like mum, it was a gradual journey. It wasn't, almost in a way that I could ready myself for the eventualities of her passing. And I feel like you didn't
I never get that. So it's really interesting you say that. So I found that when my dad passed away, a lot of people would say to me, oh, go speak to this person, they've been through it, or go speak to this person, they've been through it. And I found that after when other people had been through it, people would say to me, oh, why don't you have a word with this person, or why wouldn't you have a word with this person? And that's all being very well, obviously, because we're all going through some sort of loss. However, I struggled with the fact that some other situations, people would have months.
Yes.
I didn't even get 1 second.
Yeah.
You know? And I just think that nothing can prepare you for that.
No, not
Nothing
at all.
in this world can prepare you for that moment. It changes your whole life, tipped on its head.
Most definitely. And it's just something that, you know, as you said, I had that preparation, and you know, does that make it easier? In a way, it does. You know, in a way, it doesn't. There are two sides to the scale. You know, the fact that I knew there was this toxic in my life, this element of something I couldn't control, but at the same time, I did have that preparation. I had like an element of control in the fact that, you know, I knew that it wasn't over in a flash, and I can't imagine going through that at 16 and just hearing, you know, Dad's not coming home. What was that like?
So I remember I was on FaceTime to a friend the night before, and obviously this was before the police had got sent over. And I remember I turned to my friend, and if she watches this, she'll know, she'll remember. And I turned to her and I said on FaceTime, I have a feeling something bad's happened. Yeah. And everyone would say to me, oh, Samson, shut up. Like, don't be stupid. Like, why would you say such a stupid thing? I just had a gut feeling. I had some weird intuition, and the next day, turned out I was right. And so I woke up the next day, my mum told me to get ready for school. So I went and I showered, and I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, it must be fine, because no one said anything to me. And then about 10 minutes later, after I got out the shower, I'm putting my trousers on and I'm looking out the shutters of my windows in my bedroom. And I was a big boy back then. So I'm struggling to put my trousers on, and my mum walks in and she's holding my sister's hand, and my stepdad comes in with them, and she sits us down on my bed, and she turns to us and says, there's no easy way to say this. Dad passed away last night. My initial reaction was, everybody get out of my room. Yeah. So I was like, please can you all leave? And I just burst into hysterics of laughter out of shock.
Yeah,
because I'm not afraid to admit, for years I'd always imagined what it would be like, God forbid I lost a parent.
Okay.
And it was always like an anxiety of mine almost, because growing up, my mum was ill and had like dodgy medical history.
Yes.
And so I think that already made me anxious of losing her. And so losing my dad all of a sudden, completely out of the blue, I was like, oh my God, this was not part of the plan.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think the laughter came from. And I didn't really know what to say or what to do. And I called some of my friends and I was just like, this is what's happened. And then I turned my phone off.
Yeah.
And everything from there is pretty much hell.
Yes. I mean,
there's no easy, like no one can put their hands up and say, do you know what? It's not that bad. It's easy. Like you can get over these things. I still feel as if this is some sort of sick joke.
Yeah.
It hasn't sunk in. I don't think it will ever sunk in, and that's okay. You know, I think there's coming to terms with it and learning how to deal with it, but it doesn't mean you always have to believe it.
Yeah.
In that sense.
It's so interesting, and like, you know, mum's gone. Like my mum has gone, and you know, there's no changing that. That is a fact. Yeah. But like, sometimes it's like I still like what you're saying. It's like it's weird. I'm like, yeah, I get she's gone. I can see the rationality behind that. But
like,
I'm
I know she's physically not there, but like
I still just there's like this thing where I'm just like I can just like picture her in like everyday sort of scenarios, and I'm like, but it you know, it's not that. Like a sense of like I guess when it initially happens, there's a sense of disbelief because you're like,
this can't be.
Yeah, like this only happens on Netflix. You only see this in Riverdale. Riverdale went? I haven't seen that in years.
And I think I would like. There had been other kids in our social group in North London that had lost their parents from a young age up until when I was 16, and I would always think to myself, I could never prepare myself to do something like that. And unfortunately, it would always come into the back of my mind when I would see these people. I would always think to myself, I don't know how they do it, because that's a really hard thing to get up in the morning and know that you're never going to see that person who made you, that brought you into this world. And then when it happened to me, I was like, oh God, I'm now that person, you know, ping, you're part of the WhatsApp group. Like, I'm now that person that people are going to feel uncomfortable talking about their dads. And I never wanted it to be like that. Yeah. But I feel like there is some sort of, I wouldn't say stigma, but like people, I think sometimes struggle with talking about their own parents, like their own relationships with their fathers to me sometimes.
Yes, I do think the reason behind that is because a lot of people within our age bracket haven't experienced that close of a loss. It's like, well,
please God.
Of course, but it's like, well, I don't know how to respond to this person because, you know, I've never experienced that, and you know, I 1000% was the same, and like, you know, once the loss happened and, you know, I'm sitting shivering, people were saying all these things. I'm like, why the fuck would you say that to like a 19-year-old person? Like, you know, and like there isn't a script, you know, I've said this before, there's not a script, there's not like a dialogue you can follow to, okay, this is what you say to him because but it does make these scenarios really awkward. Is there anything that comes
awkward.
up for you?
It was I'm so sorry. And I've got a bit of a dark sense of humour, so when people would be like, oh my God, Samson, I'm so sorry, I'd be like, it's not your fault. Yeah. You didn't kill him, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And like people would be like, oh, like, can I get you anything? Like, what can I do to make it better? Like, what do you mean? What can you do to make it better? Yeah. Like, if you're offering buy me like a 12-pack of Krispy Kremes, then I'll be fine. Yeah. But like, I think it's just coming to terms with you're now that person, you know, and you're now going to...
You're now in that club.
Especially being... I think we both are in a similar position being the eldest child. Yes. You know, you have a sense of responsibility to pave the way of how to kind of behave in these situations. You know, my dad wasn't married to who I call my stepmom, Rachel. So when he passed away, I was the next of kin. Yeah. And all my friends are deciding what they want to do this summer, what tour they're going to go on. Meanwhile, I'm picking which cemetery to bury my dad in and what plot,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
If I had it my way, I would have got him some nice, big, colourful thing. But,
of course.
budget cuts. So I just, because I was the eldest, it was my responsibility. And
Yes.
because I was under 18, it then meant that it was the responsibility of my legal guardian, who is my mum, who was not married to my dad at that time. And
which is an awkwardness in itself.
Yeah, but in that situation, I'm very, very lucky to have an incredible family unit.
Yes, of course.
I can hand on heart say that I wouldn't still be here if it wasn't for my stepdad Darren, firstly, because he is just everything. Like he gave me I always get so big. Like he gave me a second shot, you know, at like having this normal family unit, you know, and that's something that I will be eternally grateful for forever. And I also, my baby brother, Jack, who is 7, I would describe him as the light at the end of the dark tunnel in that situation. And any time that I thought, I can't do this, I don't want to do this, I don't want to be here and live with this, I would think to myself, I can't leave him behind, you know? He's my everything, you know? He's the sunshine in the house, and he's such an amazing little kid. So I'm very lucky, and obviously I've got my sister who's 18, who is like my best friend. You know, when you go, you know more than anyone, when you go through something like that, it can bring you so close to your siblings. And people always say to me, I'm so envious of your relationship with Amelie. And I'm like, well, when you go through something that what we've gone through, it brings you incredibly close to each other. So I'm very lucky. And obviously, my mum, who is my rock, I can categorically say I don't think I would be here without her either.
Yeah.
To be able to deal with that, even when you're not married to a person, and after everything, is something I will never understand. I will never be able to get my head around. But I admire her so much. You know, she helped me with everything. And divorces can be messy, you know. But I'm very lucky that my parents got along for the last few years. And my stepdad incredibly hosted my dad's shiva at our family home, which is something that I think is just
amazing.
I'll always be like in debt to him for this. Like he is the most incredible man, and I will always be grateful.
It was, you know, something you speak about a lot is family, and family obviously is something that after loss or after something, you know, it can go one of two ways. You can come really close together, and you can also have that element of, you know, it brings you apart. And initially for me it was definitely difficult, you know, I think after mum passed, you know, we had COVID, and well, not straight away, but like a couple months so to speak later, and you know, we were all heavily grieving, and then we're like forced into this house, and there's trapped. All this negative energy that, you know, and we're just lashing out at each other. And it wasn't so much like you know, we're attacking each other. It was just the situation that we were in. So I do think, you know, having loss can, you know, of course, you know, family is inherently important, and it can overcome the grief you face. But at the same time, there is an element of, you know, difficulty, because like, you know, family dinners, when you're sitting down, and you know, I still find this now, when, you know, we do sit down and we have a family meal, like I still get this element of anxiety, because I'm like, you know, although I really love spending time with my family, I'm like, but mum's not here. Like there is still a chair right there where she should be sitting. And so, you know, it's like these little things that most people our age, young adults, teenagers, you know, don't think about, because they don't why would they? Yeah.
It's really, so I'll talk more about this in a minute, but so I'm very lucky. I'm in a lovely relationship with someone who I care about a lot and love very dearly. And I had 19 years before I came out to think about my life and what I wanted to do. And I think, like you said, how the chair, the table at the dinner, mum isn't there, and it makes you think. I get that, because I think to myself, what I would do to just hear what my dad would think about what I've done in the past year and a half. You know, coming out, my whole life has changed.
So was that a conversation you ever had with him?
It's funny. So when a person dies, you have the opportunity to go to the morgue to visit the body, and you can each take turns to go privately, or you can go with someone. And I had about 10 minutes on my own, just with the body and to say goodbye. It's not the nicest of things to do. It's really hard. To actually be physically up close and personal with a dead body is something that takes a lot out of you. And so you can't unsee those things, you know? But that was my opportunity. That was the first time that I ever said the words out loud. Yeah. And obviously he couldn't reply, but that was the first time I said the words out loud, because I knew I wasn't going to get another opportunity. Yeah. This was my last shot. And when I kissed him goodbye, I said to him, I just want you to know that I'm gay. And when the time comes, when I come out, I know that you'll be watching over me. Yeah. You know? I know you'll be there to support me from a high level. And it's really sweet. When I came out, my stepmom called me and she said, you know, Daddy always knew. And he was always said he will be proud of you regardless. And it just, that's something. Because loss can send you two ways. It can either send you down...
it can send you a million ways.
Oh, it can send you a million ways, but it's very easy to sit back and go, what's it all worth now? Like, why would I put in all the effort in life for it to be taken away like that?
Yes, of course.
Or you can go down another alleyway, which is you only get one life.
Yes.
Make the fucking most of it.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of route that I've tried to go down almost, because who knows, if I go tomorrow, what was it all worth? Yeah. You know, so I want to make the most of every day. Yeah. And that's why I think loss was the push that I needed almost. And it's been a long journey. It's been nearly this Christmas will be 5 years since I lost my dad. And so I think in the past 5 years, it's been a slow burner, but I've completely transformed my life around. Yes. Completely. I'm doing something I never thought I'd get the opportunity to do. I have a shot at being a normal person and living a normal life, a happy life with someone that I love and care about. And please God, one day will be able to have my own family and be my own father one day. Please God. We'll see. Oh, he's going to go mad.
I'm sure he won't.
Not too soon, don't worry.
Kids next year.
Oh, God.
Is that what you're trying to say?
He's going to go mad.
No, mate. I fully... Listen, it's... I don't think... What it kind of lost... Revolutionises isn't the word, but at the moment it felt right. But...
It kind of... I felt like it re-energized. It kind of gave me the kick up the arse that I needed.
There's like this kind of reality check that, you know, you get a certain I've definitely got this appreciation for life. And when I say appreciation, like, life can be shit. And there's no denying that, you know, 30% of the time that, you know, I can be feeling, you know, I may not be over the moon. And that in a separate argument is just fine. But my point is there are, you know, I've now found this appreciation for just small things in life. Like, you know, it's so weird that, you know, I can find myself driving or something so small by nature, and I'm just thinking to myself, like I'm driving right now. Like, I know it sounds so weird, but like in my head, I'm like, I don't know why. Like something so small, I've like now kind of developed this thought pattern.
Deeper appreciation.
Yeah, for just things that we take for granted, because like your dad, like my mum, you know, they can't take them for granted.
That's how I look at it. I want to be able to do all the things that my dad never got to do. Yeah. You know? This is the bit I get upset. Because everyone always says, Samson, you're so emotional. But it's just because I have a different perspective on life. I am the way I am because of the things I've been through. Yeah. You know?
Being emotional is all right, mate. I'm an emotional guy.
I don't take risks, you know? I like to be so certain that I'm doing the right thing, because there's so many effects to these things. And so, like I was saying, I want to be able to do all the things that my dad didn't get to do. And that's why me being able to find love and have a family one day is so important, because my dad will never get to walk my sister down the aisle.
Yeah.
And that breaks my heart.
Yeah.
And he'll never get to see me, please God, get married or do any of those things and meet his grandchildren and meet my kids. And so it's so important for me to really put in the effort to make a life for myself.
Yeah.
You know, because I want to be able to do all those things. Everyone always says to me, you're so similar to him, Samson.
Yeah. How do you find that, by the way?
It's really interesting because everyone used to call my dad Camp anyway. So, like, it's really funny. So, but everyone says, you are doing, like, a lot of his close friends will when I see them, will say, you're doing everything that he never got to do or never could do.
Yeah.
And he would be so proud of you. And it's obviously so nice to hear those things, but I do wish I could have one more conversation.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's, you know, talking about, it is hard, you know, the reality that there are all these life events where the person that matters most will not be there. And, you know, it's really, it's quite significant. It takes its toll. And, like, you know, you know, we're both
There's also other people that aren't going to be there, but they're not dead.
Yeah.
There's also some other people who won't be invited.
Yeah, well, but it's just that element of that physical presence, you know, that I guess it is wishful thinking. And, you know, how I in a way I picture, like, how she would be in certain situations. And, like, you know, whenever I hear some, you know, like, whenever something goes on in my life or something happens, you know, I wish there is, like, this moment. I don't really like to say wish, because I'm not someone who believes in any of that, but any of what, joke. But it's just that.
So you're not wishing upon any stars?
No. Well, maybe if there's a shooting star, I might have a little one to myself, a little, you know. But I don't know. I'm going to use wish again, but I do feel like I want her in certain situations, and it's hard, the reality.
You yearn for her advice, basically.
Yeah.
You kind of, I get you. I'd say for the first 6 months, I would call him and forget that he's not there. I would call him and just think, oh, why is he not answering my phone? I think one thing I really would have loved was, I think if he was here and I had opened up to him about my sexuality earlier, I would have had more confidence to do what I did.
Yeah.
Because that was probably one of the most terrifying things I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, burying a parent's hard.
Yeah.
But standing up in front of everyone and saying, this is who I am, after being told at times that's not okay, or you can't do that, or it's weird, is probably one of the most terrifying things I've had to do.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for the loss of him not being here, I don't think I would have had that push.
So do you see it as a driving factor?
Yeah, massively.
Yeah.
And it's affected my relationships with people.
Yeah.
You know, I find it very difficult, dating 101. I find it very difficult in the past when I was experimenting and going on dates and trying the field, you know, trying all the different cakes at the time. I found it very difficult when boys would say, oh, I don't want to speak to you anymore, can't speak to you, or block me out of their life. Because the last time I experienced that was losing my dad.
Yeah, well, it feels like another loss.
It's almost PTSD, but I think it's almost harder because Dad was gone. There was nothing I could do about that. Yeah. These people were, like, round the corner at some points. But I think it's just interesting how loss affects you in different... Like, I never looked at it like that until about after I came out 7 months later. I started to realise, oh, why am I getting so upset at those things? I think it's because being cut off, like I was when my dad died.
Yeah, and, like, that's one of the things with loss that you brought up. You know, it isn't just one avenue. It's not like, okay, so your dad's gone, and, you know, you're going to be upset for a bit, and then you'll be okay because your life moves on. Yes, your life might move on, but at the same time, there's this not darkness, but there is this inevitable piece of the jigsaw
Always.
that is missing.
Always. And I always used to say that to people at school when some of my friends would moan about the most ridiculous things, like, oh, my mum's making lasagna for dinner and I don't want lasagna, I want a teriyaki chicken. And I think to myself, well, I have to get up every day and deal with the fact that I can't speak to the one person that I'm going to speak to, but you're crying over lasagna for your dinner.
Yeah.
But obviously each to their own, you know?
Yeah, of course.
But I think that's just like...
To be honest, if I had lasagna for dinner, I would not be happy.
Exactly.
So I don't like cheese, so...
Well, depends whose lasagna. If it's
Yeah.
my friend's Lily's mum, then that's a good lasagna.
Okay.
But I think it's just coming to terms with that, firstly, not everyone has been through what you've been through.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
And although loss is the most painful thing in the world, some people are lucky they don't have to go through it until later on in life. But I think it's just accepting that loss affects people in different ways. You know, rather than making me bitter at life and cynical, it made me grateful, and it kind of gave me that push.
Well, that's interesting because, you know, it does affect people in different ways, and there will definitely be a lot of people out there who will look at our perspective, I'd say, even though there are similarities, but, you know, as we've established,
each case is different.
Yeah, and there will be some people who look at loss and find it extremely hard to get up, and you know, and I've definitely had conversations where people have been like, well, you know, I don't understand, like I wish like it should have been me, or you know, or something along those lines. And you know, I never felt that. But
Neither.
There was a guilt I had that, you know, almost. Not that I could have done more, because, you know, what could I have done as a 16, you know, she was ill when I was so young. Like, what could I have actually done? But then you question how you were as a son, and like, were you looking all right, mate?
I know, I don't know why I just did that.
Hello.
I was like, hi.
But yeah, like you just, like, I found myself questioning how I was as a son, and like, you know.
Yeah, you second guess yourself. You're like, I wish I could have done more. I wish I could have feel this way or agree with this. But I felt that in the 3-year period between me losing my dad and me coming out, I lost a chunk of my childhood.
Yes.
I felt like I matured much quicker than other people in different senses, you know. I was very responsible. I knew how to look after myself. Managed to get an A-star in my GCSE because the second paper was all about burial, and I had just lost my dad. So I was like, and they were like, give me evidence. I was like, well, go to Bishop Cemetery. You can do like all this stuff. But I felt like I lost a chunk of my childhood. I really did. And it's really funny because everyone says to me, oh my God, Samson, like, you look like you're having such a good time at the moment. Like, you're so like crazy and like doing all these fun things. That's because I have a second chance now. You know,
So when you say second chance, what do you mean by that?
I'm going back. I'm doing all these things that I missed out on doing at that time, you know?
Of course.
At 16, everyone's, you know, going to parties, getting with people, and like finding their first relationships, you know, like finding their hobbies, finding what they like, you know, finding themselves and finding like their sense of fashion and style and things like that. I had to deal with the loss of my dad at 16, and then A-levels, uni.
Yeah.
I just felt like I was stripped from my innocence almost. You know, I had to grow up very quickly.
Yeah.
And so now I feel almost liberated in a sense, because I'm taking what loss took from me. And yeah, it's been tough.
Yeah.
The past like year and a half, because I'm learning again, you know, I'm learning how to be an adult now. I'm learning how to do it in a sense where it's not to do with loss and all these sad things. And I'm learning how to form a relationship and all those things. And it's very interesting because people say, oh, you were so mature, Samson. Like, you were the head boy. You were Deputy, okay?
I sense a bit of...
Yeah, still not over that. David Cohen, I'm coming for you. And so people say, like, oh, you were so, like, sensible. Now you're just, like, doing your thing, like, don't really give a crap. And I'm like, well, do you know what? That's because I'm learning again. You know, I'm learning I'm finding myself because I feel like I was stripped of that because of loss, almost.
Yeah.
So this is kind of my way at saying F you.
Yeah.
To the pain that I was in.
Yeah.
And it was only during the pandemic, during the lockdown, which I realised I needed to make a change.
Yeah.
I needed to kind of take this pain that loss had caused me.
I guess it's taking ownership over your pain and kind of just saying, like, fuck you.
Exactly.
And, you know, one of the things that I kind of picked up from what you were saying is the idea that you've kind of not found something, but this loss has kind of pushed you in a certain direction. And I definitely relate to that idea, like, you know, not for a second, I'm like thankful for it to have happened. But if I were to say, yes, and if that's what I'm saying, like, I would never have found this form of creativity. You know, when I was an economics student, you know, I played sport, but I don't know what sport, but I wasn't, you know, I never had this creative outlook. I never wrote. I never would have done. I was, you know, I would have these
something that you didn't know you had,
and it's definitely pushed in a certain direction. And maybe that's to do with the idea that life is quite short, and you know, tomorrow could be your last day.
Exactly.
So why? So, and it could be that, and it also could be. I think one of the things, I guess, is you know, Mum wants, and she still does. She wants the best for me, and she knows what that is. And I feel in a way we're all kind of like chained and like not caged up, but we're chained to like our full potential and who we really can be. And you know, I think when something happens, you kind of like, I don't want to be chained. Like, I don't want to just be this person. Like, there can be, you know. And that's definitely something I found, like, I started writing. I love writing.
The mold, basically.
Yeah. And not for a second I'm like grateful. Like, that's not the word. It's more so like I wouldn't have found what I'm into now. And I don't...
Without going through that pain in the first place.
Yeah.
I feel the exact... I do. I really agree with that. I feel... But it took me time to be grateful and look at it. It's a different outlook and it's a different perspective. And people can think, oh my God, you're nuts for like being grateful for going through all of that. But I don't think without going through that at such a young age, I would not be the person I am today. You know, I am so prepared for a lot of things now. You know, I know how to deal with quite a few scenarios. And I kind of believe that it broke my mold. Almost. It gave me a different outlook and perspective, you know. Like, I was a big kid when I lost my dad. I was 142 kilograms. Like, that's like big. And I always struggled with my weight. Yeah. And I put on a lot of weight when Dad passed away. Like, a lot of weight, because everyone was bringing me food. And
dinners every night. It's natural, mate.
And I think... during the pandemic, I realised, firstly, I don't want to end up like him at 42.
Yes.
After, you know, got to be careful. I want a good shot at having a good life. So I've got to take care of myself now and like look after myself and be healthy. And the second thing was, I just wanted to transform myself. I wanted to be my happiest self because he didn't get to fulfill all his dreams, so I have an opportunity to fulfill mine. Yeah. And although these things are hard and tough, dealing with the pain at the same time, you kind of have to look at it, like you said, as you're grateful. Like, I'm grateful I went through all of that, because now it has taught me how to persevere, how to carry on, and how to be responsible and stuff like that. Yeah, I think there's a certain element of resilience you develop, and, you know, I'm not, mate, I get stressed, and that's a fact. I'm someone, like, stressing me. We're not best friends, but sometimes I look at it and I'm like, right, it's a small inconvenience, like, okay, my bus is a bit late. I'm going to be late for my I don't know. I haven't got a bus in years, but I might be late for the cinema and my mates or dinner or whatever. And in the past, I would get really stressed by that. I was like, okay, but then what's he going to think if I'm late? Maybe. What's it worth now? And now I'm just like, right, like, what is that? This stress is like so unimportant and somewhat I agree. I think stress can be a good thing, but at the same time, I've definitely learned that this. I don't even know where I'm going with this, because it's not the aspect of loss, but it's shown me, and also I guess watching Mum and watching her resilience and just her strength has definitely kind of
not brought something up in me, but it's something that, you know, if I am struggling, or if, you know, if the work consumption gets a bit too much, I'm like, okay, but like, take a minute and we'll deal with it again, because
But that's what loss does.
Yeah.
That's what these things do. You know, bad situations, loss, heartbreak, all these types of things that cause grief, the feeling of grief. I find that whenever I'm sad, or whenever something bad happens, or something's not going my way, or it's frustrating me, yes, I've been through pain, and I do sometimes think, oh, if I can deal with that, I can deal with this. But there are people out there who have been through some things that I could hold my hands up and say, not for me, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And I just think to myself, if they can get up with a smile on their face and walk down the street and be happy, I can. But it's funny, I was doing art at the time as one of my GCSEs, and we were just about to start the exam topic in January. And so the exam topic was beginning and or end. And so I decided I was going to look at my relationship with my dad from start to finish, and that was going to be my art piece. And I was going to investigate our relationship and look at all the memories, bearing in mind this is a month after he died.
Yeah.
I created a memorial tree made out of, so what I did was I cut out a variety of pictures from all over the years, and I basically stuck them up on the table, and I shined.
We'll go with that.
Put
mate.
loads of like different intensities.
The light
of
was
lights.
there.
Yeah, and I would basically take pictures of the shadows of these photos, cut them out, and they made the leaves of the tree, and I made out of bamboo and stuff. And I found that helped me come to terms almost with the fact that we're doing this, you know? This is happening.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do, but also you don't have a choice. Well, everyone's got a choice in life, but at the same time, just because I lost my dad at 16, I was going to throw away my life?
Yeah.
I was going to turn around and be like, oh, I'm not doing my GCSEs.
Yeah.
Like, no, I was taught different.
Yeah.
You know? That's not my style, and I think a lot of people agree that just because pain and grief is hard and you're going through loss doesn't mean you can throw your own life away.
No, definitely not, mate. I do want to go back to something, and I was wondering if you could just share a bit about what your dad was like, who he was as a person.
He was a legend.
A legend, yeah.
Yeah, he was a legend. He was really funny.
Yeah.
So the summer before he died, I was going on Camp Kimama in Israel.
Yeah.
And he was taking me to the airport. And he wrote me a letter to take with me to Kimama. And I never opened it when I was on camp. And then when he died that day, I had an urge to go find something in my drawer, and I found the letter.
Okay, wow, yeah.
And I found this letter there, an unopened letter that I'd never read before, and it basically said all these funny stories and stuff. And he was a very confident, loud person, you know, quite cocky at times, but he was the biggest character. Like, we were very similar. Like, he did, like, he would always run his mouth, you know. He wasn't scared of much, you know. Nothing really scared him. Same with my papa. He would always get himself into like little situations, you know. He hit the back of a lady's car near where he lived. This is what he wrote in the letter.
Oh, okay.
And I remember him telling me the story. He hit the back of a lady's car and like just grazed it. And she got out of the car and she said, oh, can I have your insurance details? So he gave her all these fake details, like fake name, fake address.
Oh, really? Hopefully
anyway,
she's not watching.
Oh my God. If you are, like, apologies, but like, I'm still a student, so don't ask me for the cash. But next day, these three big geezers like rock up at the door and they're like, all right, mate, I heard you screwed over my wife, gave her the wrong insurance details. And like, he thought he was going to get his head kicked in.
Oh, really?
But like, he was just the type of like, he was the life and soul of the
Did he get his
party.
head kicked in?
I bloody hope not. What was it worth in the end then? But he was just a really funny man. You know, he went through all his phases. After my parents got divorced, he went to India for a bit.
Okay.
Decided he wanted to convert to Hare Krishna. Comes home, all my friends going to like Camden Market, going to like Brent Cross when they're 10 years old. I'm going to Hare Krishna temple and like praying to all these different gods and feeding the cows. I'm very lucky. I've had fun. Yeah. And then he went through his jiu-jitsu phase where he wanted to become like the next like sensei.
Okay.
So he would like do such intense like jiu-jitsu courses and like put his whole life and soul into it.
And was he still doing the Hare Krishna phase?
No, he'd like get over it. Like they would be like 2-month periods. And that would depend on what we were eating.
He'd wake up one day like jiu-jitsu.
I was like, oh my God. And then he went through he always loved art. So he ran a charity called Art Against Knives, where he converted ex-gang members from South London into fashion designers, art students, and stuff like that. So he always loved it. Big music fan. Like,
cool.
Like classic R&B, hip hop, like stuff like that. And like all my guy friends are like, oh, like they'll be listening to a song and I'll be like, oh my God, I love that. I'll be like, really? That's not your style. And I'll be like, my dad loved that.
No, wow.
Like my dad loved that stuff. And then for the last phase was fishing. He loved fishing.
Okay.
And he would take me fishing on like the weekends and I would think, oh my God, I'm like 15 now.
Yeah.
All I want to do is just go like party with my friends. Like, he wants to sit and like feeding koi and like stuff like that. But like he would go through, he was crazy. But I miss him a lot. There's not a day that goes by where I don't think about him.
Yeah.
And I do think that we are very similar. That I am him. Almost. My mum says I've got his temper. But yeah. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Legend.
Of course. And I noticed that you say is, as you know, in the present. Is that something you...
I'm working on it. I
wouldn't say working, but like,
it's a work in progress. I sometimes I'll be like, he was.
Yeah.
But I don't, like I said, it still doesn't feel real.
Well, that's the thing. I try not to use that terminology and like the past tense terminology because like, yes, I might have lost it, but no way. Firstly, I find loss, like, even though the channel's called Living with Loss, but I find the whole idea of loss quite strange because, you know...
Because although they're not there physically...
Yeah, but it's like also, she's not lost. Like, I know where she is. Like, you know, she's dead. And like, but the whole past tense terminology, I still feel her presence in like everyday life. And so to say, you know, sometimes when I'm thinking like, you know, she was such a great person, well, she still is a great person, you know, everything, all the lessons she has taught me. And so I guess the terminology I use is very similar to yours.
Yeah, people sometimes think to me, people get confused, especially if they don't know me. And I'm like talking about him as if he's here. Yeah. And they're like, okay. And they look at me as if I'm like crazy, like nuts. And I'm like...
No, it's actually they're who crazy.
Yeah, you're the crazy one. But I think it all just depends on the person, you know? Like, I will sometimes say, yeah, he was, or he like, wow, or in the past.
Yeah.
But I just don't think it will ever feel real.
No.
It will never sink in. It's the most surreal thing because it's out of your control. Yeah. There is nothing you can do about it, you know? There's nothing you can do. No, honestly, and it's the most surreal feeling in the world, and only few people will understand how it feels.
Well, it's being so young and, you know, being a teenager, you know, even early 20s. But the idea that... So what I found incredibly difficult was, okay, yes, I was the eldest, and I guess we spoke about the whole idea of maturity and growing up, but also you're still a child. Like, yes, this has happened, but you're still a child, and, you know, I found it sometimes the conversations I'd have were inherently hard because people wouldn't know how to interact. And I know we touched on that whole idea of, you know, loss is this thing where unless you've experienced it, you really know. But it's like being in that situation and you know, being so young. I think the age thing, it you know, of course, a loss at any age is significant. It does take its toll on your life.
Yeah.
But being young and, you know, not experiencing life with your parent, brother, sister, whoever it may be, is a whole different kind of hard.
Because loss in itself is never going to be easy, you know. Like I said before, I'm very lucky with my family unit, but I'm also very lucky with my friends. Yeah. I would not have been able to do it without them, especially people like my girls, you
Yeah.
know, and people like my close boyfriends, like. When I say boyfriends, I mean my friends are guys. Like, I'm
I
not
don't have
some,
6
like,
boyfriends.
I don't have like,
go.
I'm not one of those like polyamorous
Yeah.
situations. Not my sort of thing. But wouldn't rule that. Oh, he's gonna kill me. But yeah, no, like I wouldn't have been able to do it without them. But when you have like, I had such like a strong friendship group that supported me through that. You know, like. Maddie, Lily, and Lola, they would sit with me every night, and people like Yoni, like they would sit with me and like make sure that I was okay every day for months and months and months on end. And when it's a parent, you don't. When you're going through loss as a child, you just want, as long as you've got someone like an adult and you've got your friends. I felt like, okay, I can do this, you know. I think I would have found, and I'm happy to admit this, I think I would have found it much more difficult if I had lost someone, if it was a sibling or a friend or a partner. I think at that time in my life, that was as much as I could deal with, you know, because I had my mum. To hold my hand through it. And that's something that I really noticed. Sorry, I know I keep like...
Bro, that's a podcast. Keep going, mate.
I've got shiny ball syndrome, you know, like a puppy.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm like,
you're on heat,
next
mate.
thing. Exactly. I realised I began to become very anxious about losing the other parent.
Okay.
So that was something I found. I was always nervous about losing my mum because she was ill when I was growing up.
Yes.
But after losing my dad, it became suddenly like, one strike.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I've got one left. You know? And it's kind of like, I don't know what I would do.
So do you think about death a lot?
Yeah. I'm terrified. Like, I'm terrified of death still.
Yeah.
Some people come to terms with it after they've dealt with loss. Me, no.
Yeah.
I'm not, I don't need to get, as Gemma Collins would say, I'm not getting involved.
Yeah.
I'm not getting involved, no. I'm very comfortable alive right now.
What's that phrase? No, what did she say? I'm not involved, Darren.
Oh, I'm claustrophobic, Darren. I'm claustrophobic. I've got money. But yeah, like, I'm not afraid to admit I'm terrified of death.
Yeah.
You know, Oscar always says to me, like, why are you crying? And I'm like, because I don't want to die young. You know, and it's like, do this. I've got, like, I need to go to Coachella before I die. And like, all these things. He's like, Samson, you're crazy. And I'm like, but I think each to their own, you know? Yeah. Maybe I'm just a massive pussy.
I think it's the fact that when something like that happens, you know, like, I don't fear death, but it's a conversation I've been having, you know, that I have been having with myself. And, you know, of course, my mum, she had cancer, and you know, the whole idea behind that, you know, is it inherited or whatnot? But it's just definitely a conversation that I wouldn't have really thought about prior. Like, I don't think I'm scared. I guess in a way I am scared of dying. I think it's something that I don't want to say terrifies me, because I'm aware it happens, but it's just the idea that, like, it's just
you
out
don't
of your
know
control.
when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think the longer I continue making memories and the more TikToks that blow up.
I did see you had a few.
Just a couple. More to come, people.
Yeah, cool. Come on.
New YouTube on its way, please God. I think as life continues and it gets more exciting, you know, like, I'm very lucky my life has got so exciting in the past year. Like, the past year and a half, I'm doing things that I never thought I'd be able to do, you know, especially, like, being in a relationship and being so open about it and, like, living my life. It makes me more terrified. Yeah. Because I'm like, now I've got stuff to lose.
Interesting.
Not that I didn't have anything to lose, but I was a kid, you know? Yeah. And it was kind of like, I haven't done anything, you know? Yeah. I've not even done my GCSEs at that point.
Yeah, let's get the boy to Coachella.
Exactly. Get me to Coachella first and couple BAFTAs maybe. That'd be nice. Couple houses. And I'm going to be the first Real House husband of really? Beverly Hills. No. Yeah. Nice. Or Mill Hill maybe, let's see.
Uphill road.
Uphill road. No. But I think as life continues and gets more exciting and I'm learning more, it makes me more terrified for loss, because I'm like, okay, now I've got that stuff on the line. You know, there's so many things I want to do.
Yeah.
And I need to do those. And then maybe I'll be more comfortable as I get older.
But it's just these questions we've had to ask ourselves at an age where most people don't.
Oh my God, no one should have to. No, I'm sorry, but I've been to so many. Like my mum said it to me. She said, at your age, I never went to this many shivers. I have been to so many shivers.
Yeah.
I've probably been to more shivers than I've been to concerts, probably. Like, no one should have to go through that.
Yeah, of course.
Especially at this age.
Yeah.
Like, I'm only nearly 21. I can't believe that.
Nearly 21.
Turning 21 next week.
Finally go to Vegas.
I know, I can go to Coachella properly, finally. But,
it's pretty mental, that.
I know.
21 to
I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm going to be 21. Like, wow. Like, I'm doing it. Like, it's mad. After this, it's like 9 years till I'm 30.
Yeah.
Oh,
19 till you're 40.
At my brother's bar mitzvah, I'll be 28. So I'll be sitting with my kids at their table.
Yeah.
Please God, by then. 28 is loud.
There'll be a bit of hope. Hopefully, I'm invited to that moment.
Yeah.
I can't lie. I do love a bar mitzvah.
Everyone loves a bar mitzvah.
I think when you're old, the older you get, the more fun they are.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really remember mine, but I remember my brother's. Because, like, I was a little bit older. I was, like, 15 at the time. And I had, like, obviously my mates there.
Yeah.
And I think the older you get, you're just, like, you drink it.
I'm excited for wedding season.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be a blast. You know, when everyone starts getting married and, like... Because it's going to be so interesting. Because I think to myself, do people still do like the single tables? You know, where they lumber all the single people on one table? Like, that's so embarrassing. Like, like no, oh my God, no, it's
you're such a loser for being single.
Such a loser for being single. Watch,
it's 21st century and you're single.
Watch,
Come
I'll be
on, mate.
locked on the single table with everyone by that time.
Yeah, to be taught a lesson, mate.
Exactly. But
it's just like. I mean, look, listen, and the reason it's having these conversations and just like sitting down, it's just, yes, I kind of want to show that loss can be spoken about and like you can just sit there and like there are times.
You can still talk about it with a smile on your face as well.
Yeah, of course. And you know, it is a sad topic and there is a lot of sadness involved. But at the same time, you know, when I think, I'm at my happiest when I think of my mum and I speak of my mum because, you know, that's just something that she was such a powerful figure that it just brightens my every day. And I'm really rambling now and that's great. But so this has just been an amazing chat.
This has been a good one.
I've really enjoyed it.
I'm really happy I did this.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure,
It was something
mate.
I needed to do. And I'm really happy that I got to share my version of events almost, you know, because this is something I don't normally talk about. I don't normally talk about this side of my life. Like you can see from my social media, try to focus on the happy stuff.
Yeah.
But this is something that I've never really openly spoken about publicly before.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy I got to do this obviously with you. It's very lovely and I feel honoured to be able to be part of this podcast. But I'm just happy that people can hear my story and hopefully somebody out there can take something from my story and what loss taught me and did for me.
Well, I'm sure they can, mate. And it's been an eye-opening chat. And I kind of find that with each person that I speak to, you know, I learn a little bit more, not just about loss, but about myself. And then, you know, it's just
because you see yourself in other people's shared qualities.
And also, I think it's interesting because, like, when you have conversations, you kind of rationalize your own stuff a bit more because, like, it's all kind of in your brain, but unless you speak about it and verbalize it, you know, it's just kind of sitting there. And then I'm like, oh, hang on, I've never said that before, but like. Saying something brings that up, so it's interesting having different kind of conversations, and but that's I guess why I love doing this.
Vice versa, I feel like hearing your side as well. Yeah, like it's interesting because I'm like, oh, that's a different perspective. That's a different way of thinking about it. Yeah, like maybe I should take a leaf out of Joe's book. But
I always like to end it on this one note, and you did actually kind of bring it up a bit before. But if you were to have a conversation with your dad again, or if you were to speak to him, what would you say?
Where's the air miles? No, I'm kidding.
That's the best answer I've heard. Let's end it on that.
No, just obviously I would want to know what he thought about me, but I'm sure he is proud and impressed, and I've still got a lot to come, you know. So don't close shop yet, just too soon.
Yeah.
Don't shut shop too soon. But yeah, no, thank you for today, Joe.
It's
Really
been an
appreciate
absolute
it.
pleasure, mate. And if you hear about those air miles, send some
Oh
my
my
way.
God, of course. Sharing is caring.
Yeah, exactly. But no, mate, absolute pleasure. And as we call that a wrap.
Perfect. Thank you, Joe.
Oh, mate, that was
I just
fantastic.
want you to find your truth and stick to it. I know you'll be okay. I know it. From the bottom of my heart, I know it. I love you, Papa.